And welcome back to another episode of the Convoluted podcast. It's your host, Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus. And today I am not here with Liz. As everyone knows, Liz is out of commission for a little bit, but we have one of our first guest hosts. Welcome back, Manny.
Hey, very happy to be back, Jesus. Thank you for letting me come back on, and hopefully I can do half the job Liz can do. If I can do half the job she does, then I'll know I've done a great job there.
Hey man, if you can tolerate my blabbering, you're already doing half of it. But no, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since we communicated back and forth. We did a little catching up here, but for the audience's sake, Manny has been a guest host here and there throughout the last couple of years. He is a friend of the show, definitely. But how have you been?
You know what? That's been pretty good. I mean, it's definitely been a couple of years since you and I have had a connection here on the show. To catch you up quickly, I became a little more regimented when it came to my health. Had a bit of slight health scare, so that was kind of like where I told myself, like, hey, this life, the lifestyle that I was carrying, it's not for me. I don't want to have that. And I moved out. I'm no longer with my wife. I moved out, and my father came to live with me for a while. And seeing my father, he's 75 years old, and the man is spry. Like, he still drives everywhere. He goes up and down stairs. He runs around. He still, he watches TV. He understands the internet. He's a very active 75-year-old man. He doesn't have any, insane health ailments, except, he likes to smoke like a chimney, right? And
damn.
just looking, yeah, right? Yeah. And looking at him, I'm just looking at him and I'm like, hey, you know what? When I'm 75 years old, I want to have my mobility. I want to be able to do the things that I do now. Kind of set that as an example. So I said, fuck it. I had the health scare was a diabetes scare, right? I came in pretty freaking high. Definitely a diabetic, but I was, for those of us that are diabetics, my blood sugar at one point was at 21 or 23, where normal blood sugar should be between 5 and 7, somewhere there. And I was like, no, man, I can't do that shit. So I took up the gym, I took up a diet, and I put myself through hell for a bit. And I mean, yeah, I am seeing the rewards. I find that, like, now I'm a little more comfortable in the activities that I do. For example, I shared with you that I like to ride my motorcycle. I find that, ever since I was able to drop some weight, I can corner better, I can maneuver better. I feel that, I've gained a lot of upper body strength. So I could, I'm in more control of my bike. Just doing everyday activities as well. I do find that as well. And how R-rated can you get here?
Yeah, this is a free open platform, so you're free to say just about anything, as long as you don't get yourself canceled.
Well, I will say this though, right? Ever since that, I found that when I corrected my blood sugar, when I actually started exercising on more, I found that there was better blood flow, if you understand what I mean.
And look at that shit.
Oh, Manny.
Yeah. Right. So, so everything, I feel so much better about my, I feel a lot better when it comes to, being like, knowing that, hey, you know what, I'm setting myself up to be in a path where my end goal is to, be as physically active and as physically fit as my father at that age. So I said, hey, let's go.
There you go, man. And it sounds like you've really, like you said earlier, we it's been a while since we chatted But it sounds like you've made a really big change in your life. Sometimes it sucks that it sometimes takes such a quote scare, right, to kind of like
Yeah.
kick us in the butt. But it seems like you
Yeah.
really took a very positive note, and you're moving forward, and you're looking good. It sounds like you're doing great. I've been seeing some of your
Yeah.
posts here and there, man. But I'm
Thanks.
glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you.
Has there been anything else you've been doing fun or anything in recent days? So everyone, I hope you guys are looking forward to. Manny will be joining us for a couple episodes here and there when he's available, and we'll be chatting for a bit. But there are going to be some other guest hosts. Manny was willing to be our first one for the month of September. Yeah, September. It's oh man, the year's gone by so fast.
It has gone by.
But yeah. But as always, while Liz is away, you can still support us by buying merch at merch.tyrantdominus.com. If you want to help us financially, it does cost a little money, but it's always here for you guys for free. But if you want to support us free, you can always share the show on your social medias, X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and all the fun jazz. Or the best way you can do it is word of mouth. Word of mouth is one of the easiest and best way. Tell a friend, tell a family member to come check the show out. But yeah, that's kind of the only show I can do. We're gonna be starting with one of the more nerve-wracking and creepy stories out in the world. So, the story is, let's see here, this article. A live worm plucked from a woman's brain in Australia, a world's first. Surgeon Harry Prita Bandai, oh, that's an interesting name, said that she picked it up and just went and looked at it. And what is that? After she found a worm on a patient's brain during a biopsy. Oh God, just the thought of something crawling in your head, it just like,
So, as soon as you mentioned that story in our pre-call, it reminded me of the show The Last of Us. Remember how,
Yeah.
Did you watch it, by the way?
Yes.
Right. So remember how they talked about how the virus or the fungus, whatever, it starts off by going inside the brain, and then it has those it grows out of the person's mouth and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes control. So as soon as you said that, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm thinking, oh shit, here we go.
Cordyceps, man. Cordyceps, yeah.
Cordyceps, that's the one, yeah.
All right, let's see. Yeah. Okay, so let's read a little bit of this article. A woodman.
And of course, and I was going to say, of course, it would happen in Australia, right, where apparently everything is trying to kill you.
Man, those Australians are built different, but they survive somehow, right?
Yeah.
So let's see here. A woman who was admitted to the hospital with the mysterious symptoms, including forgetfulness, had a live wriggling worm plucked from her brain. The 64-year-old woman from New South Wales, Australia, had been admitted to the local hospital in late January 2021. After a few weeks of abdominal pain and diarrhea, the woman had respiratory symptoms, and medical scans revealed abnormalities in her lungs and liver. Her condition only worsened, exceeding to forgetfulness and depression. It sounds like she was just suffering a lot before they even got close to this. So an MRI scan revealed what doctors initially thought was a tumor, but when the woman underwent a biopsy in June 2022, the doctors were stunned. And this is a quote. "We don't find things that are surprising, but when we do, that's just unheard of," said Dr. Bandai. I just like their name. Yet there it was, frontal lobe on the patient's brain, not cancer, but a live parasitic worm over 80 millimeters or 3 inches long and 1 millimeter in diameter. And I picked it up and just went, "Look at it. What is it? It's moving. Look at it. Let's take it out." And then go for it. What are your thoughts here?
I'm just thinking, how do you contract this, right?
I'm going.
Ugh.
Go for your thought. I'm kind of scan through this a little bit, but what are
Right.
some of your thoughts just hearing all this?
So, all right. So some of my thoughts have to be, number one, is it probably something, that you ate, you drank, did you go swimming somewhere that you shouldn't have done? I mean, because it is unheard of, something to infect your brain like that. I mean, obviously we have bacteria, we have everything growing on our body. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's skin mites all over us, right?
Yes.
But for something to be big enough to be seen in the brain and cause those issues, it has to be something else. And do you know what freaks me out the most, buddy?
What?
That it probably laid eggs.
That's
Like this is
yeah.
this is literally one of those like 1980s horror movies, you know?
Oh, okay. So here I found what it is. Ooh, interesting. It's one of the, okay. So kind of going back to the cordyceps thing actually. So it says here that I just had it. Where? Okay. The patient lived near a lake that was also home to carpet pythons, and while she had come in no direct contact with snakes, she often collected native vegetation from around the lake to use in cooking. So she was using kind of some of these things that carpet pythons also ate. That led to doctors believe that she may have unknowingly consumed the worm's egg because of the contaminations. The larvae are known to survive for a long time in animal hosts, and researchers said warning of more cases popping up amongst humans. So yeah, it's one of those few things that was an animal based parasite, but due to just human ingestions, we ended up getting it. So that's how she ended up with it. So they're giving her medicine and kind of she's being monitored from what I'm reading.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's this is where you got to be careful what you eat. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess the point of the story is wash your veggies before cooking them.
Boil them at this point.
Well, exactly.
God damn.
Right? Well, nothing raw.
Yeah, it's just the idea of this. We're at this point, we're just like almost in an apocalyptic level of just chaos throughout the world. We're having like fires, hurricanes, earthquakes, the likes. Now and a few years back we all suffered the pandemic. Now we're getting closer with parasitic worms in our human brains. Like, what's next? What would be the next apocalyptic thing?
The next apocalyptic thing. Testicle spiders.
Oh God, don't say that. Don't say that.
That's right. Bruh. I don't know what else I could think of that, man. I mean, that's pretty hardcore to have a brain living in your head.
We do have brains living in our heads.
I mean, wow, maybe I definitely turns out, you know how they say, like those old cartoons, it was your brain was just a hamster wheel just turning around. For me, it's just that worm at this point.
Bruh. All right, let's jump into something a little bit more on the maybe positive sides. Let's okay, so question. When was the last time you flew on a plane? May. Oh, so recently.
Yeah.
Okay. Were there any children / babies on board?
Yes, actually.
Okay. So here's my next question. Do children / babies on planes bother you? Not just on your last flight, but in general. If in just in your general. No. Okay.
No.
Well, if it did, apparently, they are now making adult-only sections on planes. So let's see here. There it is.
Adult-only sections. Okay.
Okay. Babies to the back. This airline is testing an only adult zone. If you ever had heard a crying baby seated near you during a flight, you know how disruptive it can be. This past April, a man had an outburst on the Southwest flight when a crying baby woke him up. One airline is trying to avoid that by being the first in Europe with dedicated seating zones for passengers 16 or older. What are your thoughts just hearing that portion?
I really don't see a need for it. I think it's just the airline trying to hike up the price completely. So I find that most parents or most people, who accompany children on plane, they're fully aware that their child is on the plane, and they try to be respectful for others. At the same time, though, I think as an adult, you should be able, like, someone being angry, being woken up by a child on a plane. I mean, like I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, you don't ever know what the person's going through, but I mean, if someone gets up and they actually try to do that, right? They get upset about that. I mean, it's just one of those things that happens. If you didn't, you get woken up, by other noises as well. But, right, but being, a 16 and older section, that just seems like a little excessive. I mean, this is what I see. Okay. Airline. $40 to check in, your luggage.
Oh,
right?
God. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. $20 for a backpack, right? 16 and up. Well, get exclusive access to our adults only zone. For just $95, you get to be surrounded by adults only, anyone over 16. And then it becomes, okay, so if you want a premium seat, that's already an extra charge.
Yeah.
Plus an extra charge for being, in an adults only section, right? Plus probably an extra charge, right, for, a different section of the plane. So you'd be looking at like an increase in X amount.
Okay, I actually got the numbers for you. They have some numbers. There's one airline currently about to start doing it. So the extra charge for a one-way ticket will be an extra €45, or about 49 American. What would that be? Canadian? I don't know.
Everything.
But here for an XL, it's a seat with extra foot room. It would be €100 or about 108 American. So it's $50 more for the adult section, and if you want more leg room, another $50 added on top of that. So it is a premium on top of a premium on top of another premium with all the other amenities. Yeah, you're right. It's like yourself, I personally never had major issues with planes, but with some of the things that have been happening lately, sometimes I just want to see away from the crazies at this point. If you can offer me that, I might pay an extra 100 just so I don't have to deal with reptilian women or it's just yeah, go for it.
I just want the plane to leave on time.
Don't we all?
Come on. Right.
Like I paid X amount of money. Can we just get there and come back? As
can I see the pilot? Can I just slip him a 50 and just let's go? Right.
But yeah.
So it's funny actually that we kind of just bring this up. I actually spoke in May here. An airline known as WestJet. They're a discount airline. That's super discount, but they're there. They were on strike for a while. They striked for a couple of days actually, and the reason for it was because the pilots were not making enough. They were not getting enough hours. Not making enough money. So WestJet, I believe that they are with like their parent company might be Air Canada or another major Canadian airline whose name escapes me right now. Well, what it is? Oh, sorry, no. WestJet's a parent company, and Tango is their their subsidiary, right? Well, what it is, in order for pilots to make up the time, is they have to switch between both airlines. On top of that, as well, apparently pilots' salaries haven't increased significantly in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I
So,
remember. Yeah, we've talked slightly about stories like this throughout.
yeah.
And yeah.
So pilots striking and everything. This is my take on that. The person that's piloting the plane 10,000 feet in the air with a bunch of people on it, because they're literally, in a tube with wings. I want them to be happy. Okay? I want them to be happy. I want them to be content. I don't want a disgruntled pilot. All right? Like, that's all I want.
And look at that shit.
Just give me a pilot that's happy. It's like it's like a new Tesla, right? You know how they have the auto drive mode or whatever?
Oh God, yeah.
I want that auto drive mode to be free of, any bugs before I, kick back and relax.
Definitely.
I mean, this thing is controlling my life, right? And up in the air, my life is in the pilot's hands. I want that pilot to be as happy as possible.
I think that's a general note in any field. Like you want whoever is like in any service work, anyone who's there to service you, you want them to be, there for the most part. We have this idea that everyone, everyone's doing quote their job, but sometimes some people will do a better job if they're treated like an actual proper human being while they're
exactly.
And sadly, in these last couple of years, more so these past few years, I know we've talked about how more recently, sometimes as a joke and sometimes as the sad truth, that the economy is not that great. The wages, I don't know how wages are in up in Canada at the moment, but for the most part, it doesn't sound like most places throughout the world are doing a decent wage compensation for what the current economy is.
No, there is. I mean, you want to get into it, we'll get into it. If you have a moment, can you kindly search what the Ontario housing market looks like?
Oh God, this is a fun topic for our show, the housing market. Let's see
check
here.
out.
Let me see. Continue while I'm looking for this.
As you're doing this, right? Yeah, your computer might actually just go into a self-destruct mode, thinking that that you're thinking about buying a house in Ontario. Right? It's just going to advise you no. It's going to redirect you to a website that says not a good idea.
No, yeah, I think it's one of the half jokes on this show at the moment is so in Oregon, I'll say this to you. So in Oregon, to rent and live a decent life, it was back in late 2022. They did a census to kind of gauge the minimum wage and through all 50 states, and then kind of what a single average individual will need to make to kind of live a decently comfortable life. So in the state of Oregon, where I live, you would to make minimum wage, a single person would need to be working 2 full-time jobs to make a living. To make it. And
so 2 full-time jobs.
2 full-time at minimum wage.
That's not possible.
No, it is not. And that's just Oregon. Possible. It's a very sad truth. Like we joke, but it's the truth. And it's just more and more in the last episode we looked into how, what was it California or Nevada? I think I'm trying to remember what we talked about last week, but some places are increasing the rent by just $100, and that's gonna increase homelessness by, I believe, 15% in that state.
Oh, jeez, that's terrible. Yeah, people literally like.
So how is it in Canada?
How is it in Canada? Okay.
Or in your area, I would say in your area. Let's go with that.
My area is becoming very unaffordable, and when I mean very unaffordable, I mean extremely unaffordable, to the point where the average person cannot make it. That, to give you an example, all right?
Yeah.
A place that was listed in mid 2021.
Okay.
All right. No, sorry, mid 2022. Okay. Let's say it was listed for 1,800.
Okay.
It is now at 23 to 2,400. All right.
Bruh.
So that becomes very difficult. Additionally, there's a lot of the interest rates here have been increasing heavily. So people who bought during COVID, when the interest rate was, I think it was less than 1%, are now facing a like 6 or 7% interest rate. Now the problem is that a lot of people didn't choose the fixed interest rate; they chose the variable. So they're paying at market. So every month, or every time there's an interest rate increase, though their salaries don't go up, but their mortgage goes up. It's like, so you were talking about, remember you just said that, like, oh, someone's rent's going to go up by $100, right?
Yeah.
Well, imagine your mortgage went up. I don't know how many times they did a rate increase here in Canada, in Ontario, or Canada in the last year. I think it'd be 3 or 4 times, right? In doing so, imagine that you have a mortgage and 3, 4 times throughout the year, your rent increased.
Are you out of your mind?
So
Oh God.
people are like, yeah, but your salary hasn't increased, right? The only thing that's increased, is the amount of stress that you can take on. That's why, like, if you go on Kijiji, do you guys have Kijiji over there?
This is the first I've heard of it, but if you can explain just briefly what it is.
Kijiji is basically, it's an app or a site where people can put their used goods, including real estate, up for sale, things like that, right? Like a buy and sell.
Okay.
Yeah, and services and stuff like that. Yeah, you go on it's Facebook Marketplace. There we go. Right. So
okay.
It's like that, and if even Facebook Marketplace, you go in here, you try to find a rental, you won't find anything under 1,500-1,600, and on top of that as well, you'll also, like, I believe they released some information that the average roommate cost in Toronto or this area is about $1,200.
Ooh.
So imagine having to room with someone in like a shitty 1-bedroom apartment, and you have to pay $1,200 for that. When last year that would have been enough for you to have in 2020, 2021, it would have been enough for you to have your own place.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. If you are on, do me a favor, okay?
Yeah.
Can you kindly go to a website? Can I mention the website's name?
Yeah, should be okay.
It's realtor.ca.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
You're gonna see some prices on there. They're gonna make you go, "What the f?" So, if you go ahead and it says probably asking.
I need a city or.
All right, put in Toronto.
Don't learn. There it is, Toronto.
Yeah. Take a look at the prices in the city.
Okay.
And look at how. And look at and look at the houses that you see, like 2-bedroom bungalow, right? Or even if you find some property there, the apartments.
Let's just look for bedrooms. Let's just do it for a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
And 1 bath because.
Yeah, let's go for the average.
So for Toronto, Ontario, for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, I'm looking at about, on average, just a little over $500,000.
Yeah, $500,000. Where did you find this? That's a great deal.
That's a great deal.
I'm not kidding. That's a great deal. Yeah, for a 2-bed, 1 bath. Now, $500,000 American or $500,000 Canadian?
Canadian, or I don't. I'm on realtor.ca. Unless it's converting it. Unless it's converting it to American.
Yeah, because.
But yeah, I found this one apartment. I won't say the city. I won't name the apartment, but it's sitting at 480,000.
It's gotta be. You probably have to fight a rat, like an actual, like a Master Splinter-esque rat, to get into the apartment at that point.
Yeah, but that's the that's the lowest end one. Like at the high end, I'm looking at 700,000.
$700,000, right?
Yep.
So, and that's it. That's the cost of things, and they're not exactly fantastic ones. Like, remember, I don't know if you're like me, but remember a kid hearing, they live in a $1 million house. You thought of a $1 million house, it was like 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, like 4 bathrooms, huge backyard, huge front yard, foyer, living room, pool, something insane. Now, a $1 million home is basically, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a little bit of a backyard.
Yeah, because just looking at what we just looked, these aren't houses, these are apartments at that price.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of like that in a lot of places. Because a lot of places are buying land, at least in our area and throughout the state. But it's probably happening everywhere, where a lot of places. And these are just being built, and these slots are being sold for that exorbitant amount. But yeah, you're right. The quote, the American dream of having the nice picket place, a nice house with a yard, at such just a level of price is unheard of nowadays, unless you're like buying in a rougher neighborhood, and even then those places are being bought out by corporations, and it's a sad truth. And sadly, we are not going to see anything further, because I mentioned it on the show. Like, my siblings are trying to find a place, and there's no foreseeable future at the moment with the housing market, just like this. And just looking at some of the graphs they have on these sites, it doesn't look like it's going down anytime soon.
See, do you ever think back in time and think like, damn it, I should have jumped on something?
Oh, yeah.
So when I just graduated high school, one of my buddies, his dad worked for a bank, and we were hanging out at his place. We were playing Mortal Kombat 3. God, I just aged myself. Anyways, right? Okay, so we were playing Mortal Kombat 3 on the SNES. He comes up to us and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? We're playing Mortal Kombat. And he's like, oh, hey, man, are you working right now? I'm like, yeah, I got a part-time gig. I'm doing this. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, you should probably buy some land here, right? Buy some land, or maybe even buy a house. He goes, look, I'll tell you what. I can hook you up. I know someone that's selling a couple of their properties. I can hook you up, and it'll be like 1 paycheck for this, 1 paycheck for yourself. You don't got any bills, so do that. I'm like, man, stop, man. I'm like, I turn to my brother like, yo, why is your dad always gonna try to sell me on shit? Little do I know that he was right. Do you remember that scene in Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey goes back in time? And not back in time, but he's able to talk to Murph in Morse code. Yeah. Well, I would do that to my past self, but buy real estate.
Yeah, buying land, it's like one of those few little like assets that don't really depreciate. At this moment, you could like either rent them out and be the landlord, or be selling it and having a good nest egg for yourself at this point.
Well,
because goddamn, yeah, it's one of those, like, you're just kicking yourself in the butt at that point.
Yeah, you know what? It just made me realize. Now I get why people move, like, in horror movies, how they're always like, like a new family moves into the haunted house, right? You know what? Fuck it. If there's a house available that is, haunted beyond fucking belief, but it's $100,000 below market, I'm in. I'll bring some fucking white sage, right? Some fucking ghost is giving me shit. I'm charging that motherfucker rent. I'm putting him as a deductible, right? As a dependent.
Goddamn. Like, I don't care. Like, right? You're there you go. Just start buying all the haunted locations. How many people were like murdered here? Okay. I'm like, you better.
The walls are bleeding again. hey, you know what? It happens, but
Just
it's $100 below market. That's how I'm going to rent it out.
Just slap some new paint on that shit right there.
Exactly.
Oh God, man. Yep, that's the marketplace right now, and it sounds like also in your neck of the woods, it's not looking as great. So to anyone out there listening, just keep your eyes out, and when you get the chance, when you hear some people talking, don't be like us, just kicking ourselves later in life. Listen, but research. Listen. Sometimes it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to just like listen and kind of take a second look back, because definitely like in our current time and space right now, some of those investments would have been good, but also just having a place to call your own would be nice, because we know probably all of us together that there are some people that don't have that, and some people are just like losing their place. Like I said, I brought it up on the show multiple times. Different people that had to like move out to worse locations just because their landlords have raised the rent out like 15%, and that's just that's not the thing.
No,
Um,
it's not. I mean,
do you have any other final thoughts or on this?
I think Zillow and other real estate websites should start including a maybe haunted filter.
There you go. All right, and so let's start the convoluted fund so we can just start buying out the haunted locations. All right, guys, You guys know the deal. We have the compound, now we're going for haunted locations. That's the next venture. All right, let's talk about really horrible neighbors apparently. So apparently a neighbor was caught on camera injecting opioid chemicals under a family's door.
Can you tell me what opioid chemicals are again, please?
I'll find out, because I personally don't even know either. Off the top of my head, when I think opioids, I think of opium in my head.
Same.
So that's kind of like so, but we'll find out together, everyone. So, a Florida man. It's a Florida man story, everyone.
Yeah, of course,
I should have
Of course.
Do I have anything for that? A Florida man is facing charges after he was allegedly recorded. How does it allegedly? There's video, actually, whatever. On video, putting dangerous chemicals under the door of his neighbor's home. Oh god, how do you pronounce this guy's name? Zooming Lee, 36, faces multiple charges, including possession of controlled substance and dispersing a chemical agent, according to NBC News. The family that lived above Lee told local Tampa and NBC News affiliate. Okay, there's a lot. Okay, after welcoming their newborn daughter, Lee started to text from his apartment and complained of noise coming from upstairs. He was once again another story about noisy kids.
Yeah.
Let's see here. WFLA viewed text from Lee that said that he couldn't sleep and could hear the toilet's seats being moved. The upstairs neighbors told the affiliate that after months of back and forth between them, the whole family started to feel sick, from grogginess to vomiting. The family began to often feel ill. Then a friend smelled chemicals when she went to bring in a package from the family while they were on vacation. When the family came back, they said that they could smell it too. After having a professional check the air conditioning unit and the water heater and the air ducts and the vents, the family said that he had the fire department come check, but their test didn't reveal anything. That's kind of scary. Just that in general, it's like you're not feeling well, the whole family's sick. You check everything. That is
that's terrifying.
But then okay, so let's see how did this like allegedly get caught here? Then I actually double checked. I started sniffing the place like a dog, said the father. He told that after only investigating everything else, he started to think that it was his downstairs neighbor. That's kind of sad, is when you do everything and you just start suspecting others. I get it. There was already already a preconceived like back and forth, but you really hope that it's nothing like that malicious. You really hope it is.
No. No.
But in this day and age, I believe it, sadly. So how did this guy do it? So he then installed a hidden camera in a plant outside and eventually captured the video he gave to the police. The video seemed to show his neighbor taking a syringe out, filling it with liquid, then injecting the liquid into the cracks in the family door frame. Let's see. The first that came to mind is my daughter and my wife. Definitely. That's yeah, you got to protect your family. He said that he got his family out of the house, called the police, then Lee was arrested and charged on June 27th. So recently. Anything else? The police department had the hazmat test and found the liquid chemical agent contained methadone and hydrocodone. Both opioids, pain medication. Oh, it was pain medication. Just concentrated. Okay. He was charged with 3 counts of dispersing chemical agents and 1 count of possession of controlled substance. One was also charged with battery of law enforcement after he exposed the officer with chemicals. Oh, he attacked the officers. But yeah, that's kind of he just because of some noise complaints, he started to poison a family. So that's kind of the general story.
Could you? Okay, number one, that is fucking terrible, right?
No, yeah.
Those are extreme overreactions. Like, obviously, this person has some sort of, impulse control. Like, what the fuck? Burger King gets his burger wrong. Does he fucking smash a fucking table?
That could be a story. We could find one.
I bet you it would be in Florida too.
But yeah, you're right. It is an overreaction to this, but
no, I mean, number one, and you know what is actually the most fucked up part about this? Now that I think about it,
true.
Let's say he did it once. He was so angry in the heat of the fucking moment. He's like, "I'm gonna do this shit," and then afterwards, let's say he does it. That got away with it, right? You would think most people would be like, you know what? I may have overreacted. Maybe I think I got away with it. Whatever. But he kept going back and he kept doing it. That's one of those anime. That's like one of those anime freaking. What's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of like the Joestars and Dio, just transcends fucking, history, right? Just kind of transcend, through time, just consistently angry for something that is like absolutely insane. Like, this person just needs to, number one, I hope that this person is, in any way mentally ill, I hope they find the help that they need. And 2, it is absolutely fucked up that they consistently kept doing it and going back and, I mean, knowingly hurting the family.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right in that sense where if he did it once and then said, I think I went too far and stopped doing it, it's still fucked up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, everything about it is fucked.
But I think there's some level of redeemability where it's like he didn't do it anymore. He just stopped at that. But like you said, he was literally turning into a villain at that point where he just kept doing it. And that's where yeah.
You know what else who else has he done too? That is a very specific go-to, that's a very specific calling card.
Oh no. Yeah. Because we don't know, because the thing is, if they never picked it up, that family would have been perished. Mostly such a young child too.
Exactly.
And then
what I'm saying though is that cocktail that he created, right, and inserting it into a syringe, that's not something you don't just sit at your door and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go. Oh, they're upstairs. I'm gonna take my broom and knock upstairs, right? Or I'm going to go play loud music or something at 3 a.m. or something like that, right? No, his go-to was chemical agent. This chemical fucking warfare. How do you go from zero to chemical warfare, from zero to violating the Geneva Convention, right? And in your head and so quickly. What do you do?
A lot apparently.
Yeah.
Oh God, man, it's baffling. Because it just here the other thing, it just ruins your trust in your neighbors, because you, for the most part, you're living in like probably like I said, apartments, right?
Yeah.
And then you hope your neighbors are at least tolerable, right? Because you're living there for an X amount of time, hopefully.
Yeah.
And you hope, like me recently, we have some front neighbors. Whoever owns the house to our neighbor, or to the house in front of us, they're renting it at the from what it seems. And we've, in the last 4 years, there's been at least 8 families, and our recent one is about to. I've only been there for like 6 months, and they're already leaving. And I'm like, for the most part, like, we hope they're just the neighbors are okay. We're the type of, at least for me, I'm the type of person who, I don't go up to our neighbors, but I do the hello and wave and like good day. That's kind of it, you know. We have one neighbor that is the go-to friendly, comes over, says hi. And I'm like, I won't say no. I'm like, hi, how are you? Chit chat for a second, but I'm not that person. I won't go to the neighbors and chit chat, but I will be the courteous person to at least acknowledge that you're my neighbor and greet you when good. So that's about it. But at least I'm courteous enough to say that. But I won't be that nosy neighbor or anything. Like, it doesn't need to be. Like, that's your home, your life. Go for it. But it's like, I don't want you to be the neighbor that is that disturbance, and like and it just feels like it is like you just want your neighbors to be at least competent individuals, and it sounds like this neighbor was just one thing just irked him a little too much, that just like, and like, because then you just, how much trust can you put on like and on the next person who comes by, right?
No, that's, yeah, I mean, I know that I would want to move out right away.
Actually, I have a story about trust I was going to bring up earlier. Like, for yourself, how much, on a general level, how much would you give someone a second chance? Like, in a general level.
Let me just grab my pop for a second. I'm just going to have a sip of water.
Yeah.
Trust someone. Give someone a second chance.
Yeah, and
it all depends on the situation.
Yeah.
All depends on the situation.
True. But just kind of on a general level,
always. I always feel that if it hasn't been something that has violated, obviously there's extreme limits.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's extreme limits. If they, for example, rip me off money, like, whatever. One of my friends asked me, hey, can I borrow $100 for rent? They don't pay me back. They're like, I got you back. Whatever, man. I don't expect it back. They come to me a few months later. Hey, I'm in a tough time. Can I borrow $50? Sure, man. Just, it's a gift. Just don't feed me bullshit. Right?
Okay.
That's it. Right? Let's say, girlfriend, in my case, a girlfriend, right? If I have a girlfriend and, she were to be unfaithful to me in a relationship, I would have to find out what the details of the situation were. And I would be open to the idea of, can we get past this? Right? That's definitely something that I'd have to vary in levels.
Yeah. Okay. But for the most part, you are willing to give someone a second chance. Okay. So I got permission to tell this story. So one of my coworkers has a second job. And apparently at the second job, there was this other employee that they were working with. They work with, and it's a decent sized crew. So you have you butt heads with other coworkers here and there, but for the most part, when it comes to working with others, you have a quote professional levels with someone. Some like, okay, we're stuck together. Let's just try to get my philosophy when working in that level of work is like, we're all stuck together. Let's try to get through it. Because I just want a paycheck to make it to get a roof over my head and food in my belly. What's funny is something like that recently happened the other day, where there was a scuffle with another team, another team, and there were some some heavy words spoken, and some people were sent home. But that's a different story for another day. But for them,
I just thought of something so stupid in my head. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt your story.
No, you're
okay. Am I okay to interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go for it. There's tangents forever in this show.
Was this done through email? Like, I'm just thinking, email speech, as per my last email, it should have been this. As per my last email means like, you dumb fuck, listen up, right? Or, or another one would be something like, going forward, we will continue, on this path, which means which is like, you fucked up. This is how now it's my job to fix your mistake. Like, was it email talk going back and forth?
My name is Jeff.
It was like a Blues Clues argument level, like a PG conversation going back and forth.
Bro, I wish. No, these are words exchanged face to face and stuff like that. But yeah. So continuing on. So like I said, this happened a few weeks ago. So apparently they have one employee that for the most part is kind of your quote loner and does their job, but can get aggravating. And we probably all had that one employee, not employee, but coworker that's just like, you just don't want to be around them during certain times. He's having a rough day. I don't want to mess with him or anything. Yeah. And this one day specifically, apparently he was just like on edge. Like, you definitely did not want to be near him or on his bad side. Apparently they work like in a hardware store, like your Home Depot, your Lowe's and stuff like that. Apparently one day he not snapped, but really was on edge, and something must have happened. There's no real quote details on that, but then he was just walking around the departments with an axe around, and I'm like, bro, what? And I'm like, yeah, just walking around with an axe, and nobody knew what was happening, but definitely was weird, right? That was the first incident. That's not the full. So that incident was brought up to management, which that it's pretty sketchy, but like something's up. Like, just bring it up to management. They can talk with them. Like, hey, what's up? Things like that. So that did happen. Management was talked. He was talked with management. This is where it gets wild. The management talked to him like, hey, what was happening the other day? And they were like, we might need to put you on a temporary leave for a few days to kind of let you, cool off or whatever was the thing. It's fine. Sometimes some people just need a day or maybe a few days to kind of just, because you never know what's happening with people outside of work.
That's right.
So what this guy decides to do, except to management, to a manager, is they start to argue, and then pulls a knife at the manager. One of those, and what? Whoa. So they don't fire the guy. They send him out. They tell him you need to go home, deal with it. The guy comes back to work the next day after pulling a knife from work to the manager. They already have cops ready and waiting for him. They leave him and everything. A couple days pass by. Everyone, this is where the story is being shared and everything. And then a few days later, the guy comes back to work because management just let him come back to work. How would you feel if you were an employee at this establishment and they let the guy who pulled a knife at the manager come back to work?
I'd want to transfer departments right away. Number one. Number two. I would hope that in that time that he took off, he was able to get some sort of any help that he needed to maybe, work through whatever caused him to go into that mode. But as a coworker, I definitely would be wary of what's going on. Would I give him a second chance? Of course I would give him a second chance professionally. But would I feel comfortable just being in a break room with this person, just them and I, right? Absolutely not. Right? I would not be comfortable because, I don't want to, all of a sudden maybe they're having a bad day, and who knows what, in that conversation with management, who knows what triggered them, maybe it was something like, it's a nice day today. What do you mean it's a nice day? Snap. Right?
So true.
Oh shit.
Definitely, yeah. Like it's a wild one. I'm like a professional level. I'm surprised he got his job back, but you're right. Sometimes, some people need to work some things out. But definitely, it is wary to be working with an individual that is willing to snap to a level of threatening. Like I myself would find it like. I don't want to be working around this individual. Like, just it for safety levels. Like, we've on this show, anyone listening or watching, there's been stories of coworkers going a little too much. Not only in the States but around the world. Some people just you just gotta be careful. Yeah, but you have to. It's not like you shouldn't give some people like a second chance. Mostly in this economy, it's kind of rough. But it is wary. To kind of continue slightly with the story, my coworker who works at this other place did kind of inform management, hey, some people don't want to come into work because he's there, because it's rough. It's like people need to make a living, but also for their own safety. It is a weird like oh my god, I don't know the phrase, but it's rough. Like,
so. I wondered, is this a case, of did this really happen, or was this a broken telephone case? Because
he was there. He was there when the knife got pulled.
Oh, all right. Okay, fine. All right, fine. That's definitely, yeah. Because there's always exaggerations to a story.
Yeah, I was like, right? I was like, hey, did it really happen? Did it really happen? Yeah. No, yeah, he was there. He was there that day. Oh. Yeah. And he was there the day he came back, so that's why he was surprised.
Yeah, that is awkward.
It is. It's like I said, it's one of those stories I had to share. So let us know, anyone down in the comments, if you're listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, in the comments. Because would you be like, would you give this guy a second chance, or would you just like try to like, hey, I don't feel safe, or just let us know. But yeah, it's a tough one. And, go for it.
And if you are comfortable giving them a second chance, what would your limits be in terms of working with that person?
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. I know that if, with that story being, true, I know I would definitely be a little bit uncomfortable being on one-on-one situations with that person.
Definitely. Same. Yeah. I think you and I have the same thoughts as far as this scenario. Boy, yeah. Man, it's a wild one, man. It's a wild one. And it seems like it's happening more and more, sadly. And just for anyone out there, just try to be safe. Like, it sucks. Like, you have to be worried when you go to work, right?
And two as well. I mean, if you do see someone having a bit of a rough day, or anything like that, maybe sometimes don't sorry, let me rephrase that. If you hear that someone's having a rough day or anything like that, don't believe everything you hear. Just, always give someone just try to figure out, get the details before you make any sort of judgment on anyone, right?
Exactly.
Especially in that, yeah.
Exactly.
Because we've also been on the other upper end of that, someone said, oh, did you hear, that so-and-so, stole $100 from the register? It's like, well, no, it turns out, they were just, they just miscatalogued it. Something like that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the gist of that story. So, yeah. All right. I think we're getting to that point. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or you want to call it good?
I do. So
go for it.
Yeah. I always said that it's always going to be once in a blue moon where I actually feel pretty good today. And you know what? It is a blue moon.
What?
Right. Did you see that? So from an astronomer, I don't know. That was a terrible setup. I apologize for that joke.
No,
Feel free to edit it. Feel free to edit it. Out, okay?
I'm keeping that in, man. I'm keeping that one in.
I don't know. Yeah. Right. But basically, so tonight there's I kept reading that apparently there's a blue moon. It only happens like every 20 odd years.
I'll look it up right now. Because I know there was a red moon the other day.
Yeah. So while you look that up, I'll tell you an interesting story. So it turns out that I was supposed to be born on a day where the planets were supposed to completely align. And supposedly that is that was like, in the news and stuff like that. People were saying like, oh, the end of the earth is coming. Doomsday. Right. But, my birth was delayed. But that was my original date of my birth.
Oh, okay.
What's funny is that my sister was born on a day where she was born a day after, just by like a couple hours, where they supposedly again said, end of the earth, doom. So my sister and I were doomsday babies.
Wow. Damn. Oh, okay, so I did find an article.
Yeah.
A blue moon is the second full moon in the fall in the a blue moon is the second full moon that falls in in a single month. That's the time has arrived. Let's see here. That's what the article says. How can you see the second full moon? The second full moon was yesterday, apparently, as far as the day of the recording. The first blue moon since August 2021. The next will be in August 2024. Oh, what?
Yeah.
What is it? Australia mean?
There's something rare about this. There was something that was supposed to be rare, because I remember reading that it's like.
Oh, here we go. Here's a different article. That one just explaining the astrology signs, all that stuff. Okay, here. Viewers share photos of the extremely rare super blue moon, the biggest, brightest of 2023. If you have a good photo, love to see it. Okay, where is it? Captured a blue moon, the biggest and brightest of the year. What does it mean? Come on, give me an article. Give me something here. What makes it a blue moon? Here it comes. There are two kinds of blue moons, according to NASA, and neither has anything to do with the actual color of the moon. Seasonal blue moons refer to the third full moon in a season that has 4 full moons. I'm going to read this carefully. A seasonal blue moon refers to the third full moon in a season that has 4 full moons. A monthly blue moon is the second full moon within a single calendar month. We see a blue moon about once every 3 years on average, according to NASA. So that's what it means.
Okay.
The moon met both the seasonal and monthly blue moon. Oh, so the blue moon that recently happened met both these criteria. It was the moon that is also that came. Oh God, that was twice in a month and within the year span. So it was a rarity in that it met both criteria as to what a blue moon means. At least now I know, like, once in a blue moon, what it means.
So yes, there we go. Wow.
And the next one isn't until roughly 2037.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. All right. So, moral of the story is, hope someone saw the blue moon, right? Because you ain't gonna see it for 13 years. Math is not my friend.
2037, everyone.
My brain was fried after you were explaining that first part with 2 moons in the first month of the 4th season. What the fuck? I'm sorry,
NASA. What? NASA, man. They got to make everything a little bit more complicated than it has to be.
Right? I know.
Bruh. But yeah, I kind of get it. Interesting word of phrasing too. When you hear like once in a blue moon, like it's everyone hears that, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I've never really thought about what it meant, because I know like in a fortnight what minus the game. Like it's that's it. But
Sorry, my father just arrived. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna go on. Can you pause the recording for a second?
yeah.
Oh, that's right. You understand everything I said.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I do still speak Spanish, but anyways. Yeah. Luckily, we're getting to the end here, so yeah, that's cool. I like the idea. I like when we get those cool like moon images. Like I said, I think I did actually see the blue moon because I saw a big red moon for the most part, and there's a bunch of photos that were posted from the 30th, the night of the 30th.
All I could think of right now is like, some of those entrances, like in like those old 90s, like supernatural thrillers where like it always showed the beginning. It was a full moon, just a close up of it, just moving back and forth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like something out of like a transition in like Buffy or Angel.
I haven't thought of that show in a while.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, I kind of want to rewatch it. I wonder if I can find where you watch. It was a
Disney
Fox
Plus.
show. No? Disney Plus. It was a Fox show, right? Yeah.
Disney Plus. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to close out?
No. Has it already been an hour?
Yeah.
Almost?
We've been chatting for a little over an hour. Yeah.
Honestly, Jesus, it feels like we've only been talking 20 minutes, to be completely honest with you.
It flies by. It does fly by.
Yeah.
So everyone, yeah. I hope you guys also enjoyed that, listening and it flew like that. Whatever you guys do when you listen to the show, I hope it just made your day just kind of go like that as well. Enjoyed our shenanigans. So, Manny, thank you for joining me. I hope you
My pleasure.
join us a couple more times within these next couple of weeks to come if you're available. I hope everyone enjoyed Manny joining me today because it was a pleasure. It's always fun to catch up and just chat with you.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for listening or watching. As always, you can support us, like I said, by buying merch at merch.tyrantdominus.com, link down below if you want to support us financially. If not, if you want to do it for free, share us on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, all those fun things. Or the best way, like I always say, word of mouth. Just tell a friend, tell a family member, or force them to listen to it on any of their, just put it on Alexa, on their radio, just force them to listen.
Do what Apple did a few years back and you know how they downloaded the U2 album?
I forget the song, but what was the brand?
The album. It was the whole album. It was U2.
Was it you? Oh god.
Yeah, it was the whole album. I remember that.
Yeah, just download all hundreds of episodes of the show to their phones. Oh god. But yeah, thank you, Manny. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And sorry, to close off the show, I do have a question to ask you that just came to mind.
Go for it.
And it kind of goes back to habits, right? What we started the show with. How long did it take you to get in the habit of saying X instead of Twitter?
Recently, so couple days now.
I still can't, my friend.
It's hard.
Can't.
I'm not gonna lie. It's hard, but it's so stupid. But that's a talk for another day. That is a talk for another day. So everyone, thank you again for listening or watching. Until next time, see you.
Catch us on X.